print.
And then, of course, the lumberjack from Minnesota, Tiny Mills. One of your favorites of all time, George.
Well, actually, Tiny Mills wasn't from Minnesota. He was
Really?
from Alberta, Canada, Camrose, Canada. He legitimately was. But Minnesota fans, if you were a fan in the late 40s through the 50s, everybody heard of the king of the lumberjacks, Tiny Mills. Tiny at that time had that long hair. Now again, you look at the era. This was before the Beatles, a decade later. So a man having long hair, which Tiny did, long black hair. And he
It
was
was
always,
greasy, too.
always
Jesus.
accused of having grease in it. And he would
did.
rub his hands in it, and then he'd rub his opponent's eyes. And the referee, of course, wouldn't see it. And Tiny would have the advantage. Huge, popular heel in his day. He had an older brother, Al, Mr. Murder Mills, that they formed a team with. And then Tiny also formed a very, very successful team with Stan Crusher Kowalski. Later fans may remember him as the Big K. But Crusher Kowalski and Tiny Mills, they were the first recognized champions in Vern's territory when Vern started his own company.
You know, I remember one story Vern used to tell about Tiny Mills. He used to hit kind of like this, and he'd hit you behind the neck.
Just go right through your
And he
spine.
said, geez, he said, go down your spine, right through your feet, and knock you down immediately. You knew it was coming. You couldn't stop it. And he said, to this day, he can still, if he pictures Tiny Mills, when he saw this, when he signed it, he thought of that right away. He paralyzed me, absolutely paralyzed me.
One of the things about Tiny Mills is that throughout the 50s, him and Vern wrestled many times. And Tiny, of course, was a big, big star. He was, again, along the lines of Killer Kowalski, one of those guys that was
Big
well
guy,
over 6
yeah.
foot. And for that era, a very big wrestler.
He was.